Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Berklee webinar series. I'm Damien Bracken, Dean of Admissions. And today, on my 34-year anniversary of starting working at Berklee on July 14th, 1986, I am so delighted to have this group pulled together to talk about their work at Berklee. We were just talking earlier, in 1986, female student representation at the college was 1 out of 7. And today in our entering class, we'll have a 44% female representation, which is fantastic. I've asked Darla to help lead the discussion today. Darla is our Dean of Professional Education, and I'd like to pass it over to Darla to start the conversation off.
Thanks, Damien, and welcome, everyone. I am thrilled to be here today with what I call a fierce group of female colleagues here at Berklee College of Music. I'm proud to share my career and my time with these powerful women. And our goal today is to take some time for you to get to know us, get to know them, and then answer any questions that you have about what we do and who we are and what we think. And so there's a chat off to the side. I will moderate this conversation, and I'll just keep looking at that chat to see what you're thinking about. And before I go any further, it's rude if my mother always told me it's rude if people don't know who you are. So I'm Darla Hanley. I'm Dean of the Professional Education Division. I've been at Berklee since 2007, and I am a career educator. I'm a published author and composer with Warner Brothers. I've done extensive work with Spotify for education. I have directed a vocal jazz ensemble that toured the world for about 17 years. And I'm here because I care deeply about music and music education. And I have a colleague who is in this same lane. And so I'm going to ask my colleagues to say who you are, your name and your role. And then once we do that once around, Dr. Crystal Banfield, I'll start with you to tell us a little bit more about your work. So this is just the round robin of introductions. I'll start with Debbie Cavalier.
Hi, everybody. Welcome and congratulations on being accepted to Berklee. That's a huge accomplishment. And I look forward to one day calling you my fellow alumni because I graduated from Berklee back in 1987. Like Darla, I have a strong background in music education, published music educator, and I have a band called Debbie and Friends. We do music for families with small children. I've been at Berklee now for 20 years in my professional career, and I'm one of the co-founders of Berklee Online, Berklee's online college where we offer courses, certificate programs, and degree programs online. And a lot of the women who are here speaking with you today are also part of Berklee Online. So I look forward to answering your questions and getting to know more about all of you.
Fantastic. Betsy Newman.
Hi, everyone, and congratulations for your admittance to Berklee. I look forward to seeing you all soon. And I'm very excited to join this panel. Thank you, Damien and Darla. I'm Dr. Betsy Newman, and I also am a career educator. My whole career has been spent working in the college environment, really studying and understanding how college advances students' development. And I've been at Berklee for 6 years, and my particular research interest, which I think speaks well to my love of being at Berklee, is I really focus on student development theory for young college-age students. And I developed a theory on how young people develop their creation-driven mindsets and how the educational environment helps students develop this mindset. And there's lots of things that us as educators do well to do that, and there's lots of things that we don't do so well. And so I bring that mindset to my work every day as we're thinking about how to develop this educational experience that I really feel is unparalleled at Berklee for all of you. I'm the Senior Vice President for Student Enrollment and Engagement. So essentially the way I describe that is I kind of follow you through your journey from exploring how we recruit, admit you, what the environment is when you're here outside the classroom so you can be your true, authentic, creative selves, all the advising and support that you need to achieve your educational goals, all the way to your exploration of what career you want after Berklee. So those are the things that I work with all of these people on the panel and my team to make sure you can achieve all your goals when you get here.
Fantastic. Tanya Darby, let's go to you next.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and I'm so happy to be here today, and I'm honored to be among such a great panel of strong women here. My name is Tanya Darby. I'm the chair of the brass department, and my journey here at Berkeley started pretty recently. I've been here for about a year and a half now, so I am learning a lot, as you all will be, as you come in to our huge family. I'm excited about what we have to offer for the upcoming fall semester and semesters to come after that. As Damien shared, it's so important that we recognize some of the issues and some of the hurdles that we have faced as women in education. I'm so glad that we are taking the time to have these difficult conversations and to lean into these difficult conversations. I know that if it weren't for people in my past, for me seeing versions of myself in my educators, that was hugely important for me. So I can completely identify with some of what you all must be feeling as you navigate these waters. One of the things that I love about Berkeley is that it is such a welcoming, nurturing environment. As it was mentioned before, we encourage you to be your true, authentic selves. So you come here, you ain't got to worry about being nobody but you. And that is a beautiful place to be and a beautiful community. So I'm looking forward to hearing from my colleagues and I'm looking forward to learning from all my colleagues here today and learning from you today as well. So Damien and Darla, thank you for the opportunity.
Beautiful. Karen Nurnberg.
Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Karen Nurnberg. I am Vice President of Academic Strategy at Berkeley, and my background is in instructional design and online education. And essentially what that means is a lot of design and a lot of technology in the context of education. And I found my dream job back in 2001 and started to work at Berkeley then to help found the online school, working very closely with Debbie. And have been given some wonderful opportunities to grow since then. And so I currently oversee academics for Berkeley Online and summer programs, which maybe some of you have attended. They're the programs that we do for middle school aged and high school aged students that are underway right now. And so I really look forward to the chance to connect with you. I'm really excited for your acceptance to Berkeley. I think, like Tanya said, it's a place where you can really be yourself. And that's why I've been here all along, on top of just working with some amazingly talented colleagues and students. So welcome.
Wonderful. Hey, Bonnie Hayes, why don't you take it?
Welcome. I'm so proud of you for getting into Berkeley. It's harder and harder to do, and especially for being women who are coming to Berkeley. I'm Bonnie Hayes. I'm the chair of the songwriting department. I've been at Berkeley for about 7 years. Previous to that, I had a long career as a recording and performing artist, songwriter, and producer, mostly in Los Angeles and Northern California. I also spent a lot of time during that time developing programs, both for middle school and teenagers, and even for super young kids, and also for college aged people and older. I adore being at Berkeley, and what I can tell you about Berkeley is that it is transformative for everybody who comes here. You can be your authentic self, but you're also going to turn into something else. And that's what we do here. And it's one of the things that I love most about being here is helping people do that, especially women, turn into everything that they could be and not to be defined by past definitions of what women can and should be. So that's a high priority for me as a leader at Berkeley. But I welcome you and I look forward to meeting you.
Amazing. Terry Lynn Carrington.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome to Berkeley. I remember when I started Berkeley on my first days and how nervous I was, and how many relationships that I made throughout my time there. So I hope that everybody really, takes advantage of this time and understands that these relationships that you make with both your student colleagues and your teachers will last you the rest of your life, as they have mine. And I've been at Berklee for 15 years, I think, 14 or 15 years. And before that, I was a student. I got a scholarship to Berklee when I was 11. So I've been kind of involved with Berklee for over 40 years. Um, and let's see, I started off in the percussion department, teaching drums. I'm a drummer. And I also am a producer and songwriter. I kind of do a little bit of everything. Um, I've won quite a few awards doing a little bit of everything. Most recently, it's so interesting, I won some awards, but not for playing drums. And that taught me how all the other things that I learned where the seeds were planted at Berklee really took my career to places that I could not have imagined, actually. And recently, over the last couple of years, founded an institute at Berklee called the Berklee Institute of Jazz and Gender Justice. I'm the artistic director, and basically started that because I just wanted more women to play instruments and wanted them to um, feel a safe environment where they could do so without some of the scrutinies and things that happen in a more male-dominated space. So gender equity and racial equity are our guiding principles. So I hope to meet all of you and see all of you at some point during your tenure at the college. Also, I'm the artistic director of the 5-week summer jazz workshop, in which we're starting pretty much today. So I look forward to meeting all of you.
Nice. And our final panelist today is Crystal Banfield. So Crystal.
Sure. It's a real privilege to be here amidst so many fantastic women. Thank you all so much for the opportunity. Just a little bit about myself. I'm really privileged to be responsible to a program called Berklee City Music that is a K-12 program that is a partnership program. It's in its 25th year, and it really is something very unique to Berklee. It's an opportunity where we have been cultivating a lot of the communities, in particular where a lot of underserved communities exist, and where a lot of the roots of the music, in particular popular music, come from. I myself, my background is as a music educator. I'm also a singer, concert singer. My area comes from curriculum development and gifted learning, with the idea that all people have gifts, no matter where they come from and who they are. And also in doing that, as well as a development in programming as well. That's another area of mine that's very strong in social cultural context to inform and empower any kind of music making. It's a thrill to be at this point of starting your career launch. Congratulations to you. I would say I'm echoing my colleagues here when I say you can be your authentic self. It is an opportunity for you to develop your leadership skills, be that in your own voice or as you mentor others or seek mentorship. Do not feel alone in this. I would say that we are all lifetime learners in what it is that we do, and that the music really speaks to that in so many ways. And we look forward to that opportunity to engaging with you.
So I'm gonna manage the questions off to the chat, and we just got one that says, can you tell us some more about the City Music program? So Crystal, can you talk about how massive it is and its impact?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we are an international program. We have almost 50 partners, and these are community partners with the idea that it's place-based. So we work directly with the communities that are developing young people, working with their local public school systems, but they give the opportunity for young people to come into their community centers, learn music. We provide music resources for them on a web portal called Pulse, which is an educational portal, and it mirrors and has a lot of the educational materials that come right directly from Berklee. Actually, I would say that it's a spinoff of the 5-week Aspire program, but it has a lot of rich resources, and it gives people the opportunity to actually develop themselves very early on. We, to date, serve about 53,000 young people throughout the program. We reach from Canada across the US, and we also have community partner sites in Puerto Rico and also in Quito, Ecuador. We have scholarships that we provided, and so we have a number of students who are with us who are attending the remote version of the Aspire program, but all are very very determined in their work, developing their voice. We provide opportunities for them to have a platform at which to speak and share their music, and also continue to provide pathways so that they're prepared for a college experience.
So there's one more City Music question. Do students have the opportunity to volunteer at Berklee City Music?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, please contact our offices, contact us. We are always looking for mentors to come through. And that's a great way of learning. If you've done any teaching, the way that you really learn your craft often is really when you have that opportunity to share it with somebody else. So mentoring is key to what it is that we do. And in particular this time, mentoring and those relationships, those strong relationships that we can build are really invaluable. So by all means, sign up. We're here for you.
Fantastic. So I'm going to brag about my colleagues and say things about them that they probably wouldn't say about themselves. And so Terry Lynn Carrington sort of talked around a few things, but she didn't say that she's a multiple Grammy award-winning drummer, composer, band leader, producer, and activist. She has performed and toured with this unbelievable list of artists, everyone from Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter to Cassandra Wilson and Diane Reeves. And she has founded the Berklee Institute for Jazz and Gender Justice that goes straight to the question that Anonymous is asking. So Terry Lynn, this one's for you. Are there any clubs or opportunities that will engage students in the areas of women empowerment, feminism, contemporary issues? So can you take the first stab at that one for me? And then Betsy, how about if you jump in?
Yeah, I was going to say somebody else might have a better answer than I for that. As I travel so much, I'm not sure of all the clubs and things that are happening at the college, but I do know that there is a Women in Jazz collective group. I think that's what it's called. Women in Jazz Collective. Is that correct? Anybody know? I think so. Anyway, there is a group specifically for women that are trying to, play improvised music, play jazz, and that's actually why I started this institute. I went to one of their meetings, and the stories that I heard were really, they were beyond touching. They really were transformative for me because I realized that I hadn't experienced the same things that these other young women were experiencing, and I felt that I really hadn't contributed enough to my field, really, in general, because I didn't address these issues. I just feel strongly now, a few years later, that you can't be okay with being any kind of exception, and you really have to make sure that you're doing all that you can to pull along everybody with you. And I realized through teaching, I've mentored a lot of people, but mostly young men, because it's been mostly young men that have studied with me over the years here at Berklee. So I really wanted to change that, and that was the impetus to start this institute.
Fantastic. Betsy, what about clubs?
We have close to, I think we're getting close to about 100 clubs and organizations, and there are definitely gender identifying organizations of all types. But I will also say, if you just look, you'll see what those are. We've mentioned a couple of them. What I would emphasize, and I'd love Bonnie, maybe you can add to this, is what I really appreciate is I oversee the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Center. And there is tremendous activism among our students, including for gender inclusion, gender equity, not only within music, but within all the industries, experiences, current and future, that they hope to have. And what I typically engage in is with students who see an opportunity or a challenge, perhaps, that they want to change, either within Berklee, within the industry. And you see many people on this panel, but many other women and allies on campus who want to help harness that energy with our students and empower it. And so rather than kind of peg it to a organized club, I think there's just this organic improvisational culture of activism, and I think a real support with many on this panel, but many, many others who want to help harness that either through your music in your classrooms or outside the classroom. And I've worked at other colleges and universities, and it's very unique and exciting. And I know, Bonnie, we've worked a lot together on this, so certainly chime in.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak to this. I mean, one of the points where this happens is in production and beat making, where women just have traditionally not had the kinds of exposure to those activities. And so, and as the chair of the songwriting department, we have a lot of women who are building, they're not instrumentalists, so they're building their songs within DAWs, within beat making, kind of various kinds of software or hardware. And so we've worked really hard. There is a club called Women, Technology, and Creativity, which was essentially started by me and Chrissy Tigner from the CWP department to try to get mentorship, support, and access to professional women who are in these fields. And I know that there's also a Women in Film collective where the women who are in the film scoring group kind of do the same thing. They have visiting artists. There's a lot of support for those clubs from Berklee. We've been able to get sort of financial support so that we can bring guests. I feel like Berklee, the thing is, you can start a club. One of the students came from Valencia and brought another women and technology club. And so there's two of them actually, and they do slightly different things and slightly different levels. But really one of the great things is to watch the students advocate for themselves and create groups that are interested in the same thing. And that kind of changes, every 4 years. We've got a new bunch of students, and they're going to advocate for themselves in different ways. But there's a club for almost everything at Berklee.
Can I follow up real quickly? Only because I failed to mention that also the one thing that we're, I think all of us, but specifically in our institute, trying to be more aware of is just the gender expansiveness that is surrounding us right now. I heard that term recently, gender expansive, and I felt like that was a great way to, a great umbrella term, so to say. And one thing that's pretty amazing to me is in our institute, we, I think, had last semester, over the last year, 3 transgender students. And I had never heard them play before. I had never heard of them. I didn't know them, but they felt, this was a place where they were welcomed and could come and really, dig into learning about jazz. So I just wanted to also mention that, because even with the Women in Jazz Collective, I've traveled to other colleges and had a recent discussion with some students at University of North Texas about even changing their name to include these other gender identities. And so I think that's just something important to mention.
Thanks for that. So there are questions about, are there opportunities for women who are producers to interact with each other? And so I'm just going to answer this one and say that there are opportunities for women who are you fill it in to interact with each other. And if you can imagine it, you can find it at Berklee. That is taking us to our next question. So the next question is a round robin to our newest students. What would you say is special about Berklee? So I'll start with Debbie.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh my goodness. To boil that down to one answer is
Yeah, we'll do it times 6 here.
I think Tanya really hit the nail on the head with being your authentic self, and then I think was it Bonnie who said, and then grow into what endless wealth of possibilities. Personally, I've had a dream career in music and music education because of my foundation at Berklee. And it's the connections that you make. It's the wonderful teachers who mentor you. It's the administrators who care so much. And it's a magical place. You've made the right decision to come to Berklee, and it was the best thing I ever did. So that's not one answer, but it's amazing.
It's a pretty great one. Who wants to go next? Something special.
I'll chime in here. I think the question should be, what it's easier to identify things that aren't special about Berklee. I remember when I was younger and looking at colleges and really thinking about where to go, Berklee was always on my very, very high on my list because of this always sort of a forward-thinking environment, as I always saw Berklee as. Not just on the academic side of things, but socially, politically, and really taking special steps to help students that may not have the freedom to have the opportunities that some other students have not had, whether it's financially, all those things. But one of the things that I really love about Berklee is how when you come in as a brand new student, you're not siloed into our ideal as academics of where your career should go, right? I had the pleasure of teaching at several other schools before I came to Berklee. And Berklee's the first school that I've been at that when you come in, that you aren't assigned a major until your second year. You're what we call undeclared. And what that gives you the freedom to do is to take that first year and to really do research and to dig in and to see everything Berklee has to offer. So many times I've advised students that came in with a particular idea. I want to be a classical trumpet player. That's what I want to do. And then by their fourth year, they're a music engineering major because they just didn't know that Berklee had so much to offer. So I just think just having that freedom to develop your own trajectory here is huge, and to be able to change that as you grow, so you're sort of not stuck in the silo. So as a brass player, as a trumpet player, when we go to college, we're like typically put into two groups. You're either going to be a jazz trumpet player or a classical trumpet player, But here, when you start at Berklee, you start Berklee as a musician. You are a brass player, you are not labeled. And there's a freedom that comes with that sticks with you for the rest of your life. Very much as to what Tara Lynn spoke to, realizing that all those seeds that were planted with her when she first got here are what she's getting several accolades for now, probably things that you maybe not even imagine you'd be interested in, So that's something that makes me smile every day I step on Berklee campus. Hearing everything from hip hop, I'll be walking down the hall shaking my booty. There's some hip hop going on, there's some mariachi and flora, there's jazz right down the street. So all inclusive, free to be you.
Fantastic. So Bonnie?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to this because I am not Berklee educated. And before I came to Berklee, I had a studio for 8 years where I did sessions every day. And I found myself hiring Berklee musicians and rehiring them. And the reason that I did is that they were always really versatile. They always had great attitudes, and they were able to kind of bring this level of professionalism and musicality. That comes from your core education at Berklee, which is slamming. No other popular music school comes close to giving you the kind of grasp of theory, of ear training, and of instrumental proficiency. So, you know, you kind of take it for granted, but it's a baseline that makes you able to go into any room and have the authority, right, to be able to represent as a musician without being afraid or nervous. And especially for women, this is so, so important, you know, because I think that there is a tendency to assume, especially vocalists, that vocalists don't really know their music, but vocalists take the same core classes that the jazz trumpet players take. And so this to me is one of the things that really sets Berklee apart in terms of building musicians who are going to be able to have not just a flash in the pan, not just a couple great years, 40-year, 50-year careers that are going to be able to change as they change and what they want changes. And I think that that's a huge thing that has made me really believe in Berklee as an educational opportunity for women especially.
I would just jump in and say that, that there's an entrepreneurial spirit that I think is so pervasive at the institution. And Damien, you could probably speak to this, is that at times through the admissions process, we'll find a student who plays this singular instrument that maybe few people have heard of. And we say, instead of like, how did you find this instrument? We say, oh my God, this instrument and you belong at Berklee. You need to share this with us. And we need to figure out how to connect this to this other ensemble. And we figure out these new things together. And I just say, I think it comes from this idea that we all are so passionate about music, and that connects us in such interesting ways. But we want to bring it all together and just, I don't know, there's the creativity in this idea that we haven't solved things yet. We're constantly working on new ways of solving interesting problems and in this beautifully creative space. So I would just say, I've been working with Crystal and Terry Lynn on the Aspire summer program, and we're doing it online this summer. And we're delivering it actually through the Berklee Online learning environment. And we have a program area that we launched on Saturday, and there are just under 500 students in it. And the level of interaction has been off the charts. And I feel like in many ways, the example I use is kind of, maybe because I have kids, it's a Hogwarts. It's this place where, oh my God, like maybe you've been one of a handful of musicians at your high school, and you're suddenly coming to a place where that's everybody. And there's this energy and talent and creativity that's all stirred together that creates just this passion among all of us. And so we just want to share it with you.
I think you really hit on something there, Karen, because I came from Ireland. I had a very traditional classical music education. And when I discovered Berklee, I absolutely fell in love because of this kind of open approach to everything that they do. And the fact that there's really not a hierarchy of, faculty and student. It's musicians working together and discovering together, because, as you said, music is a lifelong pursuit.
I just want to add quickly, just to echo the sentiments of everyone and add the words innovation and incubation, that it is absolutely, it's as if everything is here. Anytime I describe the college, that everything that you need is right at your fingertips. It's as if you have a wonderful palette, if you will, of all kinds of colors and people coming from all different places with all different experiences, and everybody is welcome at the table. And also, just as Damien is saying too, you can also continue to innovate, which is so important, as we know, as we are pivoting today, and we have to be creative in our environments. We have no idea what tomorrow is looking like. But boy, isn't it great to be among all of these creative, innovative minds, people who inspire and support each other, and that you can take those opportunities to take some chances in what it is that you're trying to do with your ideas, and ideate and all those things, but then look to see what where are we going to go to next, and that's what's really exciting, and also continues to keep that youth in all of us and keep us all young in what it is we're doing.
So Berklee doesn't sit still even during a global pandemic. And my colleagues and I are super engaged and doing wonderful things. So I'm hoping that this next question will get my colleagues to share something that's currently on your to-do list that's advancing the music industry, that's advancing music education, or music making. So what are you doing, even though we're sort of in a shelter in place, what have you, that is advancing the industry, education, or the art of music making? Who wants to go?
I'll share.
Thanks, Debbie.
Sure. So two things quickly. What I mentioned Debbie and Friends and Music for Small Children. So I started a weekly sing-along series to help parents out who are struggling with maintaining their jobs and teaching their kids at home, and just to give them a break, and also to continue performing for and with children. So I do a weekly sing-along series live on YouTube, and that's been really a wonderful thing. Enjoying it very much. And I just published 2 books for children. One is called My Dad is Going Back to School, and the other is called My Mom is Going Back to School. And all of the proceeds from the books are going to scholarships. And it's a book in honor of the Berklee Online students, who tend to be everything from high school students to adults. A lot of them have kids. So those are 2 things that I was able to get going during this COVID situation.
And Debbie wouldn't tell you this, but she is one of the founders of the impressive Berklee Online School. She is the publisher of more than 100 educational materials, methods, books, and arrangements with Carl Fisher, Alfred, Warner Brothers, and she won a Grammy for this Debbie and Friends that she just so lightly mentioned for a CD a few years ago. So congratulations, and I can't wait to see these latest. Who else is doing something, music?
Darla, can I just say, it's not like a Grammy like Terry's won. I was one song on a compilation, so I was part of a Grammy-winning album, but nothing like what Terry's won.
Okay. So,
hey, a Grammy is a Grammy.
G on Grammy, and as far as I'm concerned, you're just award-winning colleagues. But as cheesy as that is, I'm counting you a Grammy. So, who's next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
As far as I think for me, just when I started focusing on gender equity, it encompassed all of those things. It encompasses my involvement in all of those areas far more than I had thought it would. It's kind of like a Pandora's box. Once you go down this path, you really, so many things are revealed, and so many areas that you are invited to hopefully impact. So for me, education, it's not just, it starts at the college, of course, but what I've seen is, other educational institutions reaching out and trying to get this right as well. And also in the industry, whether it's, companies that make instruments or companies that put out records, everybody's really trying to address this problem. So I've actually become, I was already busy, but I've become much more busy, just through dedicating myself to something that I feel is important, that actually didn't necessarily affect me personally. So it was about having really, empathy and, a calling, in essence, to make change, in an area that I was participating in, on the wrong side, actually, because I feel like if you're not working toward, changing something for the better, then you're, in essence, doing the opposite. So for me, all 3 areas are connected, but specifically, our institute is working on a book of like a compilation of songs written by women composers from in the jazz field, in the jazz genre, from somebody like Mary Lou Williams in the 40s all the way through to Esperanza Spalding. And I'm sure there'll be even some younger people coming through that we'd like to include. So that's kind of one of the things that we're doing right now. And there's a bunch of other things, but I'll stop there.
Anybody else want to jump in?
I would just add, I've been really busy this summer. I know you know that, Darla, Karen, some of you other folks. So I'm an executive lead for the Back to Berklee hybrid delivery this fall, as many of you have been assessing and evaluating how things are progressing with the global pandemic. And one thing I will say, as somebody I've spent my whole career as a higher education leader and administrator, and that the industry itself has never been so disruptive and have never been in such an uncertain environment. And I think one of the really, just to echo what many of you have been saying about the Berklee environment, while it's uncertain, what becomes very clear is how each institution is able to access its best self as they're managing through this. And between Berklee Online and all the talent institutes and things that you've heard about, we are totally committed to delivering an exceptional experience in the fall, despite all the challenges and unpredictability. And we have the capability of doing that because of who Berklee is. And I think the commitment I have had is to continue to do what Berklee does without disruption, just knowing we have to do it differently and with a lot of creativity and a lot of collaboration with all of you. So it's been an exciting time, but certainly challenging. But I think Berklee is its best self as we navigate this. And I certainly think you'll see that when you come in the fall.
And so Betsy did not share that she is an expert in higher education ecosystems and design and innovation. And so to, of course, bring all of that to Berklee means we have an incredible colleague really at the wheel, helping us figure out what Back to Berklee is looking like. And I'm excited for all of the conversations that we've been having, because there hasn't been any idea that we haven't entertained. Lots of things. So I want to go to the question in the chat. And so the answer to your question is, I think, a universal yes, right? But to my colleagues, have you personally experienced inequity between males and females in the music industry? So I think we could probably all take our mics off and say yes, right? But then the right, yes. But then the question is, and what can we do to change that for the future? So what advice do you have for students, and what guidance can we offer so that the inequities that we have experienced don't just continue? Bonnie.
I would say become your own boss and hire women. Also seek allies, seek male allies. And this is something that women forget about. We think that we have to do everything ourselves. Lots of men are interested in helping, but they don't know how. And so it's really important to kind of, try to get men to hire women, right? And you can do that by being direct or by being, subversive, however that you want to approach it. I mean, I would say, lastly, training women to be able to do the things that women haven't traditionally done, which is what Berklee does, both in terms of musicianship and in terms of the production stuff. I mean, and lastly, inequality isn't always bad. I'd say that I got 3 of my touring side person jobs because I was a woman. So it doesn't necessarily always work against you. And there's things that women do better than men. But there's also things that anybody can do. It just sort of depends on who's doing the hiring. And I would just say, for me, being able to be a band leader, being able to be a producer, learning how to produce my own demos so that I didn't rely on anybody else, learning how to ferret out and find these great women and then hire them and hire them and hire them and put them forward is really the secret to this.
Yeah, I can chime in here too. I think one of the beautiful things about this whole process is, you know, just understanding that you as young women and young leaders, um, you have the freedom to shape the future. So what this is going to look like 10 years from now is up to you. And I think it's so important that you own that power, like understanding that, you know, this is yours to do with what you see fit, you know. I think part of my, just sort of going back to the question as far as what we've been doing since with the shelter in place thing, I think we've all found ourselves a lot busier than we thought we were going to be during this. A whole lot busier than we thought. And for me, you know, just on more of a personal note, just trying to use some of that space and that time, and to change my thinking to really see this as an opportunity as opposed to a challenge, or this is something that we have to deal with or something that we have to get to the other side of, you know. There is beauty in this pause. And for me, some of that beauty has come in the form of really taking honest assessment to figure out how I can be more part of the solution as opposed to the problem. Taking a look at, you know, some of the, even like my own personal biases with certain things that may come up. And I think that one word that has been coming up for me a lot lately is affirmation. And I think what so many of us as women feel lacking is just general affirmation that we belong and that we've already got the gig. You know, so many young women feel like throughout their entire college journey that they're auditioning for 4 years, not realizing that they've already got the gig. So helping us young women really realize that the time for us to feel the need to prove ourselves is over. We've got the gig, and our job is to now help. I'm using the term help lightly, help other people realize that we are here. It's already done. Conversation closed. So you need to probably start to change your perception of what you see me here as, not me. So working on helping other people challenge their perceptions of what I am as a woman, as a black musician, as a black female jazz musician, and as a black female jazz trumpet player, right? That's not an odd thing to me. It's an odd thing to you. So you need to start to look at that in a different way.
Yeah, I want to add to that, because something that I always say is, you know, people talk about having a seat at the table, um, or, you know, these other um, analogies that are used. So I always talk about being head of the table opposed to having a seat at the table, and to think more like that. And you know, another analogy that I like to use is in the jazz world, many women feel like they're not invited to the party, and they just kind of want to be invited to the party. And I try to get them to actually see that they can throw the party, you know, that they don't have to be invited into a space, to take ownership with what it is that we do and occupy that space in that way. Because all of the things that Tanya just said and that Bonnie said, you know, I relate to, you know, maybe a little differently, but because I do actually, with all of my accomplishments, still feel that I have to prove myself to people sometimes. I don't feel like I have to, but I constantly feel like people are catching up with me. And I keep trying to, you know, talk to myself, like Tanya just said, that's really their issue, but it still reflects, you know, it reflects many ways. And I think that's part of the work that, you know, we're doing, because of course, we're talking about music and music education, but when you're finished with school, you're faced with these same things, often, you know, just like any other woman, you know, with pay gap and, you know, all of these other issues. So it's all related. So this kind of activism, I think, really starts now. Sometimes for some of you, it's probably started earlier in high school. I've met some amazing freshmen that I learned from, you know, in this way. But for a lot of people, I think, you know, in their college years is when they really discover this, you know, discovering who you are and who you want to be, and most importantly, the society that you want to live in. And I think as we talk about the nuts and bolts of music and learning, music or music related, in music related areas, I think we have to really also look at how it relates to the world and the world we live in, because you're developing that at the same time. And Wayne Shorter, he always says, I'm not what I do what I am. And music is but a drop in the ocean of life. So I have tried to think along those terms. And the other thing I just wanted to say that I didn't get to say when we were talking about what makes Berklee so special is also a family feeling, a family environment. And I've been to a lot of schools and I don't feel that everywhere. Matter of fact, that's the reason I started teaching at Berklee. I was teaching at USC before, and our current president, Roger Brown, made an appointment to come visit with me in LA. And I knew he was trying to get me maybe possibly to come back, to Boston, where I'm from. And I wasn't interested because I really loved being in LA. But he came and we had a great meal at my house. And then the following week, I had made an appointment to meet with the dean at USC. And when I got to his office, he said, "Oh, this is so great." I looked at my calendar and it said, "Meeting with Terry Lynn Carrington." And I said, "Who's that? And I'm just so happy that you came to introduce yourself to me." And I had been there 2 years. And so that's when I started packing my bags and came back to Boston. So I just want to say that type of leadership from Roger extends through the college, and that he talks to so many students. He makes me aware of students that I've never heard of all the time, and I think that really trickles down to all of us.
So there are two questions in the chat. One I believe we've touched on, but I just want to say it because it's here. So as a non-binary person of color, I have concerns. So here we are. I have concerns about what to expect in terms of opportunities and possibly necessary sacrifices to make in order to achieve my professional goals. So what do you say to this non-binary person of color with concerns? I say, we've got you. And I mean that. So did any of you struggle with confidence as women and music? And do you have any wisdom for young women who do?
I just want to go back to the non-binary person, only because there is a community that I've learned so much from. There's a student that is a work study student with us that we go to for advice, on these very issues, because they are really well informed. And, we're not afraid to ask questions. We're not afraid, to make mistakes, because we're all trying to, change the culture for the better, and the culture for trans students, non-binary students, gender non-conforming students, gender expansive students. And this person is a person of color that I'm speaking of in our it's a work study for us. And I've seen how this person really mentors other people coming in. So there is a community for you and people that can help you navigate through these issues and concerns. There's both students and teachers that are willing to do so.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to that too. I didn't want it to seem like we just sort of glossed.
I understand.
No. I mean, and yeah, I agree that we do have you. Yeah. But I think just some of the language in the question kind of pulls at my heartstrings, because just the fact that you're concerned in any situation about having to sacrifice any piece of who you are speaks to the problem, and just to go back to sort of being part of the solution, I consider myself to be pretty well educated, as far as some of these topics, but I really don't know all there is to know. And it became painfully obvious how much I didn't know when I got to Berklee, particularly with gender identity issues, dealing with pronouns, self-identification. And and this is one of the most powerful situations that I've ever had since I got to Berklee. We in the brass department too had some we had some non-binary identifying students, and there was a question because when you audition, your name shows up as your birth name, not the name that you go by. So imagine being um, identifying as another sex, but when you go to audition, you're being called by this name that you've no longer identified as. You know, that to me is the ultimate form of non-affirmation. You know, so finding ways to navigate this as far as going through and trying to meet people before you start this audition process, getting to know who you are as a human being before we start to put these academic labels on you became sort of a passion of mine, you know, because I saw what this did to students in real time. I saw the pain that that caused. And one of the coolest things is the fact that I learn more from students than I do with my peers with this. So I was able to go directly to this work study student that Terry Lynn's talking about, introduce myself. Hi, I'm the chair of the brass department, and we need help. Right? So students helping and educating us as faculty, that puts a smile on my face. That is what makes Berklee special. That is what makes this a place that I'm so proud to be a part of, because we're not afraid to humble ourselves to say, A, I don't know, and B, a student may know a hell of a lot more than I do, you know, and that started this whole process, right? So creating an environment where you feel included first and not feeling like you have to work toward that sense of inclusion is something that is very prominent throughout all of Berklee, throughout Berklee. And I'm so proud of Berklee because of that.
So we have just a few minutes here. Any wisdom for young women who are struggling with self-confidence?
I mean, I think young people also struggle with self-confidence issues. But I would say that the best armed, I was armed by my musical ability, by my education, and by my ability to sort of advocate for myself, and I was armed by the support of other women. And I think one of the great things that can happen to you here is you can be given the tools to be able, as I said before, to walk into any musical situation and not be to be able to be seen as an equal, because you are, and in some cases you're going to be better educated than anybody else in the room in terms of what you're able to do with music. So the first step is just to get the tools, and don't be locked out of the tools. And you won't at Berklee. You'll be given every tool that you could need. And then the second thing is to sort of give yourself small steps and take the steps that you need to take to sort of protect your authentic self, right? And to really and make sure that you're getting the feedback that you need to get to feel that confidence. I think it's about surrounding yourself with people who see you and who are able to give you that kind of support. And that's what we're here for. That's what all these women do at Berklee, is create a community where women can go and sit down and talk to another woman and say, I don't know, what should I do? What's next for me? And to be able to brainstorm that with them and give them actual connections. So, that's my goal here, is to do that for women.
So
one thing I'll just add, oh, sorry, Darla, I just wanted to build off of something that Terry Lynn, Tanya, and Bonnie just said. I have often, as someone who really studies the lived experience of young people and how they develop, I think for young women in particular, part of it is breaking out of the desire to be a version of someone else, not the version of yourself. And if you're surrounded by examples of people who don't look like you or that you can't relate to, it feels like you're lacking in confidence, when what you're really trying to do is just be who you really want to be. And Berklee certainly has a lot of work to do. We have challenges and struggles around inclusion, just like any other campus does. But I think we are very committed to making sure that you are surrounded by people like Terry Lynn, like Tanya, like Bonnie, Darla, so many other faculty where you can create your own version of yourself and feel confident in doing that, and not feel like you have to be mimicking or trying to be other types of musicians or other types of creative young people. And so I think that's what makes Berklee very different. And I think while you're still going to struggle with confidence, that being able to be in an environment that is really clear about that, I think is critical for you and for your classmates. And I see that every day at Berklee. So I just wanted to make sure I added that.
So my last question is for a one-word answer from everyone. What do you wish for our students? Debbie?
Success. And to just tag on what was said before, to boost your self-confidence, don't forget, you got accepted to Berklee. That's got to do something for your self-confidence as you begin to build your tool set and become prepared for a successful career. But your success is what I wish for and what everybody here is all about. That's what we work towards every day.
Fantastic. Betsy, what do you wish for our students?
I think you just live in the moment you're in and really appreciate where you are right now. And then that's going to help catapult your confidence, your resilience, and your courage when you get to Berklee.
Crystal?
Strategize. I echo all the sentiments. This is a stepping stone in your life. It's a fantastic opportunity. Live it to its fullest, but be sure to strategize because you got to get ready for the next.
Bonnie, one word.
A long and fruitful creative life.
I love this. One word becomes a long and fruitful creative life. I know you have to run.
That was less than anybody else's. All right, thank you guys. Gotta go. Sorry.
Karen, one word. What do you wish for our students?
Empowerment, just an empowering journey for your college career and what you're able to gain from it and use as a foothold for a sustainable career.
Terrific. Tanya?
Community.
Awesome. Terry Lynn?
Authenticity.
And I wish you health and happiness and all of the joys of being a member of Berklee. Damien, what's your one wish for our students?
Self-realization. And I'll just echo what's been said earlier. You know, the one common trait that all creative people have is self-doubt. Every creative person that I know has a touch of self-doubt. And you all took a leap of faith when you applied to Berklee. No one is guaranteed that they're getting into Berklee. So you all took a leap of faith and you made it. Continue that faith and you will realize the fullest version of yourself. Thanks so much to everybody. This was one of the most amazing panels that I've ever attended. You guys are amazing. Thank you to all who've attended and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye,
Darla,
everyone.
We're waiting for you.
Thanks, Darla. Thanks,
Everyone. Looking
Bye.
forward to
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks, Damien.
thank you.
Bye, everybody.